Hey, and welcome back. We're going to spend an hour now talking about a subject that has certainly been in the headlines almost permanently for years now, and that is the coming global economic collapse. We certainly know it's coming down. It's not a question of if, but when. And one author, at least, says he knows when it's going to come down, or he can certainly make a very good guess. The book is called When Will the Illuminati Crash the Stock Market? An insider's look at the elite satanic Luciferians who dictate the rise and fall of global economies. And I think all of you listening understand that's precisely what they do. The significance of identifying the end point of the U.S. economy, as designated by a major economic indicator such as the Dow, is vastly more far-reaching than merely announcing the end of American prosperity. The implications and consequences to follow are of world, historical, and biblical proportions, since this forecast not only precedes the termination of U.S. sovereignty as an independent nation-state, but of much greater relevance, portends the completion of the seventh millennial epoch in the existence of mankind on the planet Earth. Again, the book is When Will the Illuminati Crash the Stock Market? Very handsome hardback book, art by David Dees, I might add, and that is always spectacular. The author is named Soul Esprit. That's S-O-U-L. You can see it on the homepage at rense.com, E-S-P-R-I-T, and he proudly bills himself as a servant of the Lord Jesus Christ, which will give us an idea of where he's going to dip into the well of knowledge to put this forth tonight, and certainly in more detail in the book. And I'm looking forward to hearing about this. Are you there, Soul?
I am.
Welcome.
Nice to be here.
Very good. All right. Now, how long has the book been in the works, so to speak? When did this idea come to you that you would be able to accurately and actively get involved with the whole idea of putting a date on something that quite clearly is going to be the most earth-shaking thing, and far more, really, than September 11th?
Well, I initially started that book in 2003, latter part, and did a preliminary 40-page booklet, several revisions of it, or actual updates, and then finally brought it to its first edition here just recently. The book has just come out in the last couple of weeks, so it's nearly a 400-page book by this time. And the amazing thing is that even the forecasts that I was making back in 2003 are still holding now in 2011, and I have documentation in the book to confirm that.
You can click right under Soul's name, and you'll see the data there. When will they finally crash the stock market? It's actually much more than just crashing the stock market. Click on that. It'll take you to the Amazon.com page where you can get a copy of the book. And again, David Dees' art is spectacular. Always. You're lucky to be able to get David to work with you on this. He's
very much so. David is a resident genius, and I'm just glad he's on our side and not with the controlled media side.
Couldn't even imagine.
Yeah.
Right. All right, so 2003 you began this. What was it in 2003 that began to point you in the direction of being able to come up with a real framework in terms of time that we could lay this whole thing on?
Well, 2003 was actually the bottom of that 9/11 decline that started in the year 2000 and accelerated throughout 2001, 2002. And so I knew that was going to be a major pivotal point, which it was. And from that point, it finished up at 207, the top. And I predicted that when I initially wrote the 203 booklet, that the top would be subsequent to 203, right around that time period. And in fact, I did publish that forecast, and it was totally accurate. It's in a major media at 207 in October.
Oh, yeah.
Before it happened.
We remember.
Yeah.
October,
and then from there...
October 7th, as I recall. Wasn't that it?
I think it was the 11th of October, 2007. And that was in anticipation of the 208 massive decline.
which I think was also October, wasn't it?
As I'm looking right now at my charts for 208, as I recall, that was October. That's correct. That was a major portion of it.
Right. October 7th. So I'll bet you if you look further, you might even find that number. I'm not a wizard, but I just have that stuck in my head. 2008, October 7th. Now, your background is as a market analyst. What got you're a young man, what got you involved in all this? I mean, you could be doing a lot of other things.
Well, I started investing in the financial markets a while back, and I realized that's a very technical skill that requires a lot of dedication, and in order to do it correctly, you have to have something that's capable of doing it. And what one finds is that there's very little available out there that will enable someone to project prices into the future accurately on all time frames. And that's what's required in order to succeed trading financial markets. So what I discovered was that there is actually something called fractal geometry, which is a phenomenon which is evident throughout all of nature, and it reflects itself in all kinds of time-dependent phenomena, and the stock market is no exception. So it will actually show a graphic representation of human emotion in terms of optimism and pessimism, and you can plot that on a chart, time versus price, and do a study of something like the Dow Jones Industrial Average and project it out into the future and actually make accurate predictions, assuming that your analysis is correct.
The Dow Jones right now, 11,983, down 60 on the day, but we're looking at still 12,000 points. Now, the Dow isn't the big story, but it's everything wrapped up into one as far as the average person will look at.
Yeah, it's a barometer, and by looking at the Dow Jones, you will, of course, see what the U.S. economy is doing. And since the whole world is economically independent or dependent at this point, it's going to tell you what the global economy is also going to do. Because if the U.S. economy is going to crash suddenly, which I predict it will, it's going to have major repercussions globally. So by studying the Dow Jones Industrial Average, you have a window into the future of what's going to occur not only economically, but also politically and socially.
Does 12,000 seem to be fairyland to you right now?
Well, actually, it's just an incredible, I wouldn't say coincidence, but I would say it's an amazing situation that I'm even on this broadcast right now at this particular point in time, because according to my analysis, what we just saw as of last week was the second major attempt to break out of that 12,876 high that we saw back in April. And it's on its way back down right now. We just saw the first leg down this week, according to my analysis, and that for the month of November and December and early January, it's going to continue down and make the first break of the 10,000 mark since August of 2010, which is very significant. So it's been going sideways here.
What's holding it up at 12,000 or thereabouts now? I mean, it's the plunge protection team smoking some funny stuff. I don't get it.
Well, there's two ways to look at it. You could say that, and of course they are doing everything they can to create an artificial market. But actually, nothing's really changed as far as the analysis goes. This is exactly what it is expected to occur based upon fractal geometry, as I understand it. So it's right on track. And the amazing thing about it is that I have it on track for quite some time now. And when I project into the future, I get the kind of information that I was able to use as material for that book.
Fractal geometry is applied to economics. Economics is difficult enough and unpredictable, and when we've got a 1.5 quadrillion or even more derivatives market, one of the biggest scams, maybe the biggest scam ever. I don't know how the laws of math can be applied with any certainty, or any certainty in terms of, rock solid economics, because it does seem to be so incredibly built upon corruption, crime, theft, gangsterism, fraud. Anyway, I'd like to see how you meld the two together. We'll do that in just a couple of minutes. Be right back. And the new book is just out. When will the Illuminati crash the stock market? We'll find out more with Soul in just a minute. The crash of the stock market, the crash of the world economy, it's all part of the same game now. So fractal geometry, how does that integrate with something that is almost voodoo in comparison?
Well, they make it look like voodoo. Actually, it's simplicity itself. When you focus in on the factors that are really pertinent to the study, and that is what we're trying to do is determine if there is any order to be found in a complex system. And there's a study known as chaos theory, which clarifies that, yes, indeed, there is an order. But you have to understand what the code is. And once you determine the code, then the rest is very easy.
Code.
Yes. If you look at, let's say, a maple leaf, which is the back cover to my other book, Fractal Trading, you'll find a distinguishing pattern that is found throughout all natural systems. I shouldn't say all, but most. To one degree or another, some are identical, some are nearly identical.
Mm-hmm.
But there is definitely a subunit configuration that forms the basic fractal pattern that you see in these financial markets, large, sufficiently funded or open interest financial markets, that is. So once you understand that code, that is, where are you located, where's the price located in that overall configuration, then the rest is simple. All you have to do is project out into the future. And there's a few other rules you have to follow and know what the exceptions are, and take into account things like plunge protection team, etc. And then you can come up with a very close date and a price level for advances and declines in an index like the Dow Jones Industrial Average.